I grew up dirt poor in a small town in Kentucky. My parents left when I was 7, and my grandfather took me in. We lived in a broken trailer that leaked every time it rained. The winters were cold, the nights were long, and hope was rare. My grandfather worked construction when his back allowed it. He did his best, but money was always tight. We sometimes had to choose between food and medicine. I remember the sound of the wind slipping through the cracks in the walls. It reminded me that no one was coming to save us. I promised myself that I would never live like that again. Every dream I had started from that leaking roof. I studied harder than anyone I knew. While other kids played, I mowed lawns and cleaned offices. I delivered newspapers before dawn and stocked shelves at night. My teachers saw how hard I worked and pushed me forward. One helped me fill out scholarship forms after school. Another stayed late just to make sure I didn't give up. Their belief became the spark I needed. I got a full scholarship to the University of Tennessee. It felt like winning the lottery. Even then, I couldn't afford to relax. I worked in the cafeteria during the day. At night, I was a security guard for an empty library. Sleep was a luxury I rarely had. But every long night reminded me why I was there. Every dollar I earned pulled me further from the past. When I graduated, I had $600 in my pocket. My car was a beat-up Honda that coughed smoke every morning. But I had a degree, a dream, and a promise to keep. I moved to Nashville and took the first job I could get. $28,000 a year as a project assistant. It wasn't much, but it was mine. I worked 70 hours a week without complaint. I ate peanut butter sandwiches for 3 years straight. No vacations, no luxuries, just grind and sleep. People called me obsessed. Maybe I was. But obsession is what turns hunger into progress. By 25, I was managing my own projects. By 29, I was leading teams twice my age. At 32, I was running my own division. Each promotion felt like another brick in the wall I was building. Not to keep people out, but to keep poverty from coming back in. I bought a small apartment and saved every penny I could. Every time I saw my bank account grow, I felt safer. The memory of that trailer never left me. It pushed me to keep climbing, to keep working. When I bought my first house, my grandfather cried. He said he was proud, but scared I'd forget where I came from. I told him I never would. Everything I had, I earned. Every scar, every sleepless night, every failure built me. By 34, I had the kind of life I once only dreamed about. A beautiful home, a car paid in cash, a career I loved. For the first time, I felt untouchable. But I was wrong. Because sometimes the hardest fall comes right after you think you've made it. I met her at a friend's restaurant opening one summer night. Her name was Amanda. She stood out the moment I walked in. Tall, blonde, confident, dressed like she owned the place. She had that kind of beauty that makes people stop talking. She looked bored, scrolling through her phone like nothing impressed her. I made a small joke about the overpriced sparkling water. She laughed, perfectly timed, like she'd practiced it before. That laugh hooked me more than it should have. We started talking, and she seemed fascinated by me. She asked about my job, my house, my car, my travels. At first, I thought she was just curious. I thought she admired how far I had come. Looking back, I know she was gathering data. Every question was a quiet investigation into my bank account. "So you built all this yourself?" she asked, eyes wide. When I said yes, she smiled like she'd found something valuable. I mistook that smile for admiration. I didn't realize it was calculation. Our first few dates were like scenes from a movie. Steakhouses, rooftop bars, luxury weekends. She always picked the most expensive thing on the menu. And she never offered to pay, not even once. I didn't mind at first. I wanted to impress her, to show her what I'd built. She told me I was generous, different from other men. That made me feel proud, like I was doing something right. She'd say, "You really know how to treat a woman." Those words made me open my wallet even wider. Soon, she was spending weekends at my house. Then weekdays, too. She started leaving clothes in my closet and products in my bathroom. It happened slowly, almost naturally. Until one day, she just never left. She called it practical. Her apartment was small and noisy, she said. Mine was peaceful, perfect for her work. She said she was a brand consultant. But the only brand she was really building was herself. She quit her job within months, saying she needed to focus on freelancing. Her income dropped to almost nothing. Mine became ours. She talked about my money like it already belonged to her. We should get a hot tub. We should buy a vacation condo. Always we, never you. The grocery bills doubled. The utilities tripled. Every day brought a new, must-have item. She treated luxury as necessity and gratitude as weakness. Still, I ignored the signs. She was beautiful, charming, magnetic. I told myself this was love, that I was lucky. She told me I was her dream man. But love built on admiration for money isn't love at all. I started noticing how she talked to people. Rude to waiters, dismissive to workers, fake with my friends. She mocked my grandfather behind his back. Called him sweet but simple. I defended her, pretending she didn't mean it. I thought she'd change once we were married. I believed she'd learn to love what I loved. But I was blind to the truth staring me in the face. She didn't love me. She loved the life I built and the status that came with my name. And soon, I'd learn how far she was willing to go to keep that illusion alive. The proposal happened after 2 years of dating. I thought it was time to settle down. She had been hinting about marriage for months. She even showed me pictures of rings she liked. So one evening, I took her to dinner and got on one knee. Before I could finish my words, she was already filming. Her smile was perfect, but it was for the camera, not for me. Later that night, she posted, "He finally stepped up to my level." That should have been my first warning. The wedding planning started the next day. She wanted everything to be grand, expensive, and exclusive. Nothing was ever good enough. When I suggested a smaller event, she cried and called me cheap. I gave in, like I always did. The final cost was over $100,000. She wore an $8,000 dress and flowers from Holland. The whole thing felt more like a fashion show than a wedding. She spent more time posing than talking to me. Even my grandfather sat alone in the corner, ignored by her friends. I saw it, but I kept smiling for the pictures. The honeymoon was no different. We went to Europe for a month because normal vacations are boring. She shopped while I wanted to explore. I wanted memories. She wanted content. She posted every moment online, tagging luxury brands. When I tried to hold her hand, she said, "Wait, this angle is better." That was our first month as husband and wife. After we came home, things didn't get better. She stopped pretending to work altogether. Her freelance business brought in almost nothing. But the expenses never stopped growing. Designer clothes, spa days, private trainers. Every week, a new way to spend. When I questioned her spending, she called it investing in our image. She said, "You need a wife who looks successful. That's part of your brand." She twisted everything until I felt guilty for earning less joyfully. When she spoke to people she deemed beneath her, her tone changed. She snapped at servers, mocked retail workers, insulted delivery men. She treated kindness like weakness. She was charming only when someone had money or influence. I watched her lose the humanity I thought she had. And slowly, I started losing myself too. Our house no longer felt like home. It felt like a showroom for her ego. Every night, she complained about something. The bathroom was luxury enough. The car wasn't up to her standard. Even the neighborhood wasn't exclusive anymore. She compared me to wealthier men she followed online. "You're successful, but you could do more," she said. I was breaking my back at work to make her happy. But she was never satisfied. Her smile only appeared when she was spending. When I came home exhausted, she barely looked up from her phone. I started realizing I was married to an illusion. A perfect image with no soul behind it. And deep down, I knew that someday that illusion would shatter. I just didn't know how painfully it would happen, or how soon. It started at a dinner party, hosted by my best friend Marcos. Amanda was radiant that night, smiling wider than usual. One of her college friends, Claire, was visiting from Denver. They laughed, reminisced, and traded stories from their past. Then Claire mentioned a name that made Amanda freeze. "Do you ever talk to Cameron anymore?" she asked casually. Amanda's fork paused halfway to her mouth. Her voice softened as she replied, "Not really, why?" Claire grinned and said, "He's doing amazing, managing partner now. He bought a $3 million estate, drives 2 luxury cars. He's single again, you know." The way Amanda's eyes lit up told me everything. It wasn't nostalgia. It was hunger. That same look she had when she saw a diamond ring or a new bag. I didn't say anything that night, but I remembered that look. Later, I found her scrolling through someone's Instagram. It was his. Cameron Lawson. Her ex-boyfriend from college. Pictures of mansions, vacations, and expensive watches filled the screen. When she noticed me watching, she quickly locked her phone. "Just checking on old friends," she said with a laugh. But her eyes betrayed her. Something inside me shifted that night. I started noticing little things. Her phone was always face down. She took it to the bathroom, to bed, even to the shower. She started going out more often, always meeting clients. When I asked to come along, she said, "You'd be bored." Her lies became smoother, her explanations quicker. And her affection toward me slowly disappeared. One evening, she said she was having dinner with a client named Sarah. Something didn't feel right. I called the restaurant, no reservation under either name. Then I called Sarah, her supposed friend. She was in another state and hadn't spoken to Amanda in months. That's when I knew for sure. My wife was cheating. But instead of confronting her right away, I stayed calm. I started collecting evidence. Credit card charges for luxury restaurants during work hours. Hotel stays under her name on random weekdays. Uber rides to neighborhoods far from her supposed meetings. Every lie she told had a receipt to prove it. When I finally showed her the records, she went pale. She stuttered, cried, tried to spin new lies. But the story fell apart in her own hands. Then came the confession. She admitted she'd been seeing Cameron for months. At first, she called it mentorship. Then, emotional connection. Finally, she said he understood her better than I ever could. The words burned worse than betrayal. She wasn't sorry. She was proud. She talked about his success, his drive, his vision. She compared him to me, as if I were a failed version. That night, I realized I'd never been her dream. I was her safety net. She wanted his wealth, his lifestyle, his status. And she was willing to risk everything to chase that fantasy. The next morning, I looked at her and saw a stranger. Beautiful, elegant, and completely hollow. I didn't say a word. But in my mind, I started building a different kind of plan. Not to save our marriage, but to make sure she'd never use me again. I spent the next few days pretending nothing had changed. Inside, I was boiling, but outside, I stayed calm. She thought she was winning, that I was still blind. That was exactly what I wanted her to think. I needed time to prepare everything. I copied every message, every email, every receipt. Each piece of proof became a weapon. Then I called Marcos. He had always been the one who saw through her act. When I told him everything, he wasn't surprised. He said, "I warned you, brother, she's poison." But he didn't judge. He just asked, "What's the plan?" I told him I wanted justice, not revenge. He smiled and said, "Sometimes they're the same thing." We got to work. Marcos had a cousin working at Cameron's law firm. Within 48 hours, I knew everything about the man. He was married to a doctor named Sarah and had 2 kids. He also had a prenup that would destroy him if he cheated. The firm had strict ethics rules, and he was already under scrutiny. And the best part, he'd been bragging about Amanda at work, showing her pictures, calling her the wife of a rich idiot. That was all I needed to hear. The disrespect fueled every move I made. I transferred my assets into separate accounts under my name. In Tennessee, that was completely legal since they were mine. I hired a lawyer and prepared divorce papers citing adultery. Then I made one final move. I created an anonymous email and contacted Sarah, his wife. I sent screenshots, photos, and receipts of every meeting. I told her the truth she deserved to know. Her reply came within hours. She thanked me and said, "I'll handle this through my attorney." I knew that Cameron's perfect life was about to implode. But I didn't stop there. I kept treating Amanda like nothing was wrong. Brought her flowers, took her to dinner. Even suggested a romantic weekend away. She looked confused but happy. She thought she had fooled me completely. While she planned outfits, I finalized the papers. Every smile I gave her was calculated. Every "I love you" was a countdown. Then fate stepped in and did the rest. One afternoon, her phone rang. She answered, and her face went white. Her voice trembled. "Cameron, been in an accident." I watched as her world cracked open. She cried, begged me to drive her to the hospital. Said she couldn't focus enough to drive herself. Her desperation was real, and so was my silence. I asked why she needed to be there. She whispered, "Because I still love him." Those 5 words ended everything between us. I drove her anyway, not out of love but closure. In that car, I decided it was over for good. I would give her exactly what she asked for. When we got there, she ran straight to him without looking back. And as she disappeared through those hospital doors, I felt peace. The kind that only comes when the truth finally destroys the lie. I stood in that hospital hallway, watching her disappear into another man's room. She didn't even glance back at me. For her, I had ceased to exist. In that moment, everything became clear. The woman I loved had died long ago. What remained was a stranger wrapped in expensive skin. I walked out of that building without saying a word. The silence felt heavier than any scream. When I got home, I started packing. No hesitation, no tears, just quiet clarity. I took only what mattered: clothes, documents, photos of my grandfather. Everything else could rot where it was. Before leaving, I wrote one line on a piece of paper. "Don't worry, he can have you now." I placed it on the kitchen counter and left. That night, I stayed at Marcos's house. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. Her name flashed on the screen again and again. 14 missed calls, then 20, then 30. I didn't answer a single one. By morning, there were dozens of messages. At first, confusion. "Where are you? Why isn't your car here?" Then panic. "I found your note. What does it mean?" Then desperation. "Please come home. I didn't mean what I said." But I remembered her face when she said she loved him. That wasn't panic, that was truth. I met with my lawyer the next day. The divorce papers were ready by noon. Evidence of adultery made everything clean and fast. There would be no alimony, no settlement, no second chance. Amanda tried everything to reach me. She showed up at my office crying. Security turned her away every time. She sent long emails filled with apologies. I was confused. "I love you. It was a mistake." But mistakes don't last months. Mistakes don't wear designer lies and call them love. Her affair partner, Cameron, was losing everything too. His wife filed for divorce and took their kids. His law firm launched an ethics investigation. He was drowning in debt and humiliation. Marcos kept me updated. "Justice tastes better than revenge," he said. 2 weeks later, Amanda got served with divorce papers. She called me in tears, begging for another chance. "You can't do this. We can fix it." "There's nothing to fix," I told her. "You made your choice at that hospital." She threatened legal action next. Her lawyer quickly realized she had no case. Everything was under my name, earned before marriage. She had nothing left but her pride, and even that was fading. Months passed, and I learned she'd been evicted. Cameron ignored her calls. Her family cut her off. She was working retail, sharing a cheap apartment with strangers. She called one last time, crying. "I'm homeless, please help me." I told her, "You had everything, you threw it away." Then I hung up and blocked her number forever. Now, 8 months later, I'm free. I have peace, real peace for the first time in years. Sometimes the trash takes itself out. Sometimes, you just need to open the door and let it. 8 months have passed since that night. The silence that once felt heavy now feels like freedom. I rebuilt my life piece by piece, quietly and slowly. No grand gestures, no revenge, just peace. Amanda's gone from my world, like a storm that burned itself out. I heard she's working at a small store now, barely getting by. Cameron lost his job, his house, his family, and his pride. The universe has a cruel way of balancing itself. They destroyed everything chasing wealth and excitement. Now they live with the ruins of their choices. I don't hate them anymore. Hate keeps you chained to the past. I just feel nothing, and that nothing is peace. I've met someone new. She doesn't care about brands, money, or status. She laughs at small things and listens when I speak. We cook dinner together, drink cheap wine, and talk until midnight. It's simple, it's real, it's enough. I finally learned that love isn't built on luxury or power. It's built on respect, honesty, and quiet loyalty. Sometimes the most beautiful revenge is happiness after the storm. And for the first time, I can finally say, I'm truly happy.